Okay, so the fun actually begins now. This is the part of the series I uh particularly enjoy the most. Last couple months we focused entirely on the Bardo of the Living, which included introduction to the nature of mind, general overview of the Bardo cycle, methods for quieting the mind or attaining tranquility or shamatha. We touched on many things, guru yoga, all the rest of that. Now we are dealing with the next Bardo, uh, the Bardo of Dreaming, how to become aware in our dreams. In the Tibetan tradition, is generally regarded that when you are able to meditate in the dream state in the same way that you're able to meditate in the waking state, your meditation has reached fruition. So if anyone here has ever tried to meditate while dreaming, you notice that closing your eyes and meditating while dreaming is a way for the dreamscape to just transform into something completely different and for you to lose your lucidity. So it takes some practice, but we'll go from the entry levels, from the beginner level of how to do this, all the way to its fruition or advanced stages. So I'll open with Pamasambhava's Natural Liberation on the Bardo of Dreaming. So I recommend that for this class, if you have a pen and paper, and if you feel like you're willing to take notes, this will be pretty in depth. Yeah, yeah. Starting tomorrow, the Zoom room will be open every day, Monday through Friday, from 3 a.m. Pacific to 6 a.m. Pacific. Most people, if they come, they just leave their camera off. But for me, the camera will just be on me sleeping, having or doing dream yoga, but it'll just be me laying there in a dimly lit room. So the last time we got focused like this was in our higher self yoga series. That was 2 years ago. And we had a period where we really just drilled this lucid dreaming, dream yoga, out of body stuff for 2 months essentially. And people had really good progress with that. The issue with any meditative approach or any type of work in spiritual practice is the time factor. Like often we just don't have enough time with a given practice. We haven't put enough hours into it. So to try to have a lucid dream for a week is not sufficient, right? That's not going to work. I mean, it might. You might get lucky and have one within your first week. Um, but I wouldn't count on it. So generally, with being intentional about it and really directing your attention in this particular area, most people have a lucid dream within their first like 30 days. Why is it important in the context of the Bardo series? Because this process of falling asleep and appearing in dreams, the losing of consciousness, and then taking the dream phenomena to be real is exactly what's happening in the waking state. And it's exactly what happens. It's also similar to what happens at death. So by training in lucid dreaming and by training in clear light yoga, which is the dreamless sleep state, you prime yourself for recognizing the clear light of the Dharmakaya at death. It's really essentially that every night, every time that you fall asleep, whenever you go to sleep at night, it's like a mini death. You lose awareness, you have these strange dreams, you wake up in the morning. So one of the crucial components before we even get into specific lucid dream techniques or ways to become aware in the dream state is that a lot of this is fueled by how much attention or intention we're putting on it. I would say like 90% of your capacity to have a lucid dream often is the willingness and the intent to have one. Like the other 10% is random. It's up to chance. But just keeping this at the forefront of your consciousness is sufficient. So during this month, read about lucid dreaming, write down your dreams, become oriented to this whole area of consciousness that we really don't give much attention to in modern secular life. You'll notice that if you read about lucid dreaming before you sleep, or if you read about it in your early morning lucid dream attempts, that the likelihood of becoming aware while you're dreaming increases significantly. So it's really just like putting the seconds and the minutes and the caring attention into this particular domain of experience that opens it. It's not this profound psychic power thing. It's not, this is not an advanced, like a super advanced thing that is out of reach. It's very much possible. So, but it requires opening that domain of your mind and beginning to gain a recall of these states and of the dreams. So what's the kind of like fruition level of this? And we can work backwards from there, and then I'll read the section from Natural Liberation. The fruition of this practice, I only know one person that can do it, actually. At least do it reliably, regularly, irrespective of whether they're on a retreat or not. When I'm on a retreat, this happens by itself, what I'm about to describe. But in my normal life, if I'm not meditating, 3 hours a day, it's something I have to be quite intentional about to make happen, at least the clear light sleep part. So I'm going to explain that. When you fall asleep, as you're falling asleep, you're entering the transition stage between the waking state and the dream state, or the dreamless sleep state. Right as you approach that transition, you lose consciousness and you fall asleep. We don't see the moment that we fall asleep because by definition our consciousness is not there, or at least our recollection is not there. That's really the actual secret. Your consciousness is continuous. It's just that in these transitions there's essentially, because the next state that occurs is so different from the waking state, there's no recollection of it. So you have a body, you're in time one moment, and then bang, now there's a transition to the dreamscape, and you're in a completely different reality. If it's dreamless sleep, then your consciousness appears as a luminous void. So that's very different than the waking state. Because these states are so different than our ordinary perception, our capacity to remember them is hampered. It's obscured. So really, this whole yoga is developing memory, developing the capacity to remember, and developing the capacity to be aware. Yeah. So for awareness, um, I'll send out these I'll send out this video to the new people that are here, or I'll actually post it here in the Zoom room. There's a video I did called three mode awareness. It's like an hour long. I explain um, the differences in meditation techniques that are using an object, which is mode one. Mode two is when you look directly at awareness itself, mind on mind. Basically self-inquiry. It is self-inquiry. You're just looking. Zen calls it the looking back. Other traditions call it the turning, the inward turn. You just look at the looking itself. You notice the noticing itself. You notice awareness itself. And if you really want to commit to this and to see what can happen, I recommend that you do mode two, self-inquiry, as much as possible, as continuously as possible during the day, all the time, all the time. And that will pretty much guarantee that you will have a lucid dream, because it's the absence of awareness that is the reason we have amnesia in sleep. We're used to the mind being distracted, so in the sleep state, that's immediately what happens. Dreaming is essentially the river or the stream of thought and mental processes without a body. So when you're in the waking state, your body's here, and you have this continuous stream of mental pictures and this whole inner life of mental images that you don't notice because you're engaging with the physical dimension. But you can notice it. Like, notice what the imagination is doing. See what is happening in the mind. And these random pictures, these random scenes, this is exactly what's happening in dreaming. It's just that in dreaming, there's no body, no physical body. So there's full immersion in the fantasies or in the pictures and movies that the mind is spontaneously generating. That's essentially the dreaming process. By using a technique like mode two, self-inquiry, you're really refining the attention, and you're making it so that your meditation is continuous. You don't need to be obsessive about this in the sense that you beat yourself up every time your mind wanders or whatever. Some of you are engineers. You have to do like high level computational functioning. You have to solve problems. It may not be possible to be mindful or to be aware and solve problems at the same time. So you just have to see what the limitations of your practice and contemplation are and work with those limitations. Even me, I've done this for many years. I cannot be aware and solve math problems at the same time. It's just not going to happen, you know. Like, if I actually have to think computationally, it's not going to happen because my attention fully goes into solving the problem. So if I was a Buddha, yeah, I'd be able to do it, but I'm not. So this is the current situation, right? You want to look at mind as much as possible. Look at awareness as much as possible. Have this inward turn as much as possible. With lucid dreaming aside, this can produce non-dual awakening and all kinds of things. Don't be attached to the outcome. Don't be attached to what's going to happen or what's going to come of this. Do the inward turn just for the blessing of mindfulness in the present moment. Like, that is sufficient. That is enough. That is a reason to do it alone. Most of the time we're distracted. Most of the time our mind's all over the place. For this period of training, curtail that and make your meditation as continuous as possible. And that will have great benefit in your own practice and also in this dream practice, in this dream yoga. The fruition stage of this is being able to be aware the entirety of the night. Seriously. So that means, like, when we wake up in the morning, we usually have one dream memory, okay? Like, or sorry, one particular dream scenario that unfolded, maybe two, right? And that's all that we recall. There's actually more that happens during the night. It's just not remembered. We just remember what's very close to the transition to the waking state. The fruition of lucid dreaming alone is being aware as you lucid dream or as you dream. The Vajrayana level fruition of this is as the dreamscape dissolves, when the dreamscape dissolves, it goes through its natural cycles, natural rhythms, in the same way that in the waking state, you have these breaks in the mental imagery or in the mental content, the mental chatter, this like moving picture and commentary that's happening in the mind. There's natural gaps of that where it just stops and nothing's happening. When that happens in the dream state, or when that happens while you're asleep, that gap appears as what is called the clear light of sleep. The dreamscape dissolves and the mind exists as this pure luminous void. Sometimes it's a luminous void, sometimes it's just a void. But generally, if it's at the fruition stage of this, it's not a black void anymore. It's a luminous void. There's this luminous void. The dreamscape emerges from the luminous void, and you're in the character of the dream. You enter that dream with full lucidity. That dream passes, you're back into the lucidity of this formless clear light. At some point, another dream emerges. Every time you're in the clear light, there's no discriminating consciousness. There's no capacity to actually generate intentions or shift attention. It's like a pure consciousness state. The fact that you're the knowing that one is dreaming or that one is in clear light or that one was in clear light, this is only possible emerging from that. Once you're in the dreamscape and your discriminating functions and faculties return. When you're in clear light, those faculties are not present. So the master of this experiences this every night. And I do know one guy. Maybe I could get him on here to talk with us. That'd be awesome. Yeah. His name is Sam. His Instagram is Talking with Higher Self, I think. He's a Thai guy. I'm actually friends with him. So he's been meditating for 40 years, something like that. And he's a doctor, so he's quite busy. So because of his busy lifestyle, he saw that dreaming was really his only chance to practice. Nighttime when he was sleeping was the only chance to do yoga and meditation, because during the day it was just not possible with his work schedule and raising a family and all that stuff. So in his case, and I've experienced this as well, it's just that he does it regularly. In his case, the moment he falls asleep, the mind dissolves into this clear light. Consciousness splits. So this isn't even something that is in text. I had to hear this from him, and then I tried it, and it made sense. It was like, oh yeah, that actually is what's happening. Consciousness splits, and on one level, it's arising. It exists as the clear light, and the dreamscape at the same time. So the dream character is emerging, doing whatever it's doing, and then dissolves into the clear light. So that's like a fruition level of it that's not even written about. Because in these texts and the way that I experienced it for many years, it was still like single level consciousness. So I'll explain. So you're in the waking state, you go into the clear light void, boom, then you appear as the dreamscape, right? So this is all linear. This is all still the same stream of consciousness. This is all the same stream of experience. Clear light, dreamscape, lucid, clear light again, dreamscape, lucid, clear light again, dreamscape, lucid dream, and then you wake up in the morning. Okay. That's like, you're a pro if you can do that regularly. And what he's talking about, at the moment he falls asleep, his consciousness actually splits. So he's having two simultaneously running realities, where one is as the clear light the entirety of the night, and then the other is the track that I just described of emerging from the clear light, dissolving back into the clear light, alternating between the dreamscape and the clear light. So the functions and capacities of consciousness in dream yoga and OBE, there's things that happen that are not even written about. There's things you can learn that you cannot find in books. There are things that you will be taught that you have never heard before. There are things that consciousness can appear as configurations of experience, configurations of reality that you have not heard, seen, or learned from anywhere. That is the spontaneous, miraculous nature of your mind and nature of reality. So that's like the fruition of dream yoga. That person will die in full awareness, for sure. But why? Because he's done this 10,000 times before the moment of death. Not 5 times, not 1 time on ayahuasca, not 1 time on 5-MeO, not 1 time, not 2 times on a meditation retreat, like hundreds, thousands of times. So for the lucid dreamer, or the person who's exploring out of body experience, there's all this initial work that goes into having the capacity to do it, right? Like developing the capacity to lucid dream. But once that capacity has been developed, you'll have them spontaneously, whether you're focusing on it or not. So pretty much anytime I have jet lag, I have a lucid dream or an out of body experience, right? And they also happen spontaneously anyways. But the point here is the intentional development of your awareness into states outside of waking consciousness prepares you for the Bardo. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah. So that's like Buddha level 10, right? If you can do that every night. Even the big masters and big authors, I don't want to name them, but that I've known and that I've known their students, even those guys can't do what I just described. So it's a very really a fruition level for someone who's done tons of nighttime practice. What we're going for is to just have a lucid dream. It's that simple. Just to find ourselves aware in the dreamscape, or to enter the dreamscape consciously from the waking state. how do we do that? What's the most effective and reliable way to do that? It is called the wake back to bed method. It means that you sleep for 4 or 5 hours. You interrupt your sleep cycle to do it. So that's a caveat. That's a sacrifice you have to be willing to make. If you're not willing to make it, well, then you don't need to have very high, particularly high expectations. Because to have a lucid dream outside of this specific window, it's possible, but it's just rare, or it's much harder. So it's much less likely to happen. It does happen, don't get me wrong, but yeah. So if you interrupt your sleep cycle at 4 or 5 hours, you get up, you read about lucid dreaming for 15 minutes, and you get back in bed, you're back asleep within 30 minutes. As you're falling asleep, you have the intention to enter the dreamscape, and you employ an induction method to do that. There's a few different ones. There's many different induction methods, but one that works. I'll tell you one that I used to use in the beginning, in the early days, which was to re-enter the dream that I just emerged from. So when I woke up at 4 or after 4 hours or 4.5 hours, I'd wake up, write down the dream that just happened, and I would take the most like vivid, compelling image from that dream. And then after I read about lucid dreaming and got like charged up with the intention, you can meditate too. You meditate, you just have the intention that you're gonna enter your dreams with awareness. And then you lay down, and as you're falling asleep, you hold you remember that scene. And the first time this ever happened to me, it was the scene of a dream where I was at the ocean, or I was at the beach or something, but my feet were in the water, and there was this gentle like push and pull from the tide in the dream. And as I was falling asleep, I remembered this particular scene, and I remembered that feeling of the tide, that push and pull. And at first, like the mind, I was remembering it, I was recalling it, and then it progressively became more clear and more real. And then I actually started to feel that I was moving. I was like, whoa, what's happening? And boom, then what was just a mental picture, what was just a memory, then became clearer and clearer. And then I actually was feeling the water, and then I actually was in the water, in the dreamscape. So that's an example of how this is done. Like scene by scene, that's actually what occurred. So there's inductions that are based on the senses. In that case, it was the sense of movement and the feeling of water, along with the mental image. So I was using the visual sense gate, the visual sense door, and the tactile sense door, and those were enough to allow that to occur. Why is it the case that this early morning window after sleeping for 4 or 5 hours or 3 hours, why is it so effective? There's different theories on it. Apparently, it has to do with the circadian rhythm, or the fact that once you're rested, but then you wake up, it's like you have REM and dreaming brain waves running, or that are predominant, but now also you have the lucidity, the waves that characterize lucidity, because you just woke up. So falling asleep with this heightened, or with more beta in the brain and the neurotransmitters that are associated with that, It's theorized that this contributes to the increase in lucidity, increase in chance of becoming lucid after employing this. So it's called the wake back to bed method. Outside of the wake back to bed method, the number of lucid dreams or out of body experiences I've had are less than 10. The number of lucid dreams and out of body experiences I've had using this method or just having them occur in the early morning hours is like 300. So 300 to 10 is the difference here. Sam, and also there's a book that I mentioned, The Wild Way of Lucid Dreaming. That guy has, that particular author, he's developed his induction capacity to such an extent that he's able to do it from the start of the night. He doesn't need to interrupt his sleep cycle and wake up again. Some people just have a natural propensity for this for whatever reason. So Sam, from talking with Higher Self, he's also like that. He can just do it from the start of the night. But for me and Robert Monroe, for example, all of his OBEs where he slept from like 10 to 3 in the morning, woke up, went back to sleep, rolled out of body, and that's how he did it. So it just depends on the capacity and the inclinations of the practitioner. That's one way to enter a lucid dream. You can, or to enter a dream. You can have an image from a dream that you've just experienced, or you can remember a scene from a dream that you feel particular affinity for. That actually works better. So like if you've had dreams of a place from your childhood, or if you've had dreams of a person that you miss or that's no longer in your life or that passed away, and you had a dream about that person, using that as an induction, as a way to enter the dreamscape is super powerful. It's like as soon as there's actually love arising with whatever is going on, it is magic. It's literally magic. The dreamscape or the dream or the person in the dream that you're attempting to phase to or attempting to transition to, if you love that place or you love that person, that is the strongest, most reliable way to enter a dream or to have an out of body experience. So in Bob Monroe's case, he had guides. Also, John C. Lilly, he had spirit guides or spirit helpers, and he called those guides or those aspects of himself that were outside time. He called that Earth Coincidence Control Office. And Robert Monroe called his the I there, or the it of me. He felt that the word soul was not fitting, really. So because these guides had appeared to him, this is mentioned in the American Book of the Dead, the Bardo Guide or the Bardo Guides, the peaceful manifestations. If you've had any contact with that, either from memories of childhood or from mystical experiences, those are extremely powerful induction techniques as well. Like probably those are some of the best, actually. So why is this effective? It's because by using a memory from a dream, that scene from the dream is made of the dreamscape itself. It has that signature. So you're able to be pulled back into the dreamscape from it because of it. And you may have more success with it than, let's say, imagining your car or your kitchen. One, there's not much emotional content with your kitchen. I mean, maybe there is for some of you. But these Bardo guides or peaceful manifestations, the reason they work so well as targets, as ways to enter lucid dreams or as ways to enter out of body experiences, because of the level of affinity affinity that you have for those beings. What also works is if you've ever had dreams of your spiritual teacher or a spiritual teacher, super powerful also. Yeah. You want to take something, some image, some recollection from non-ordinary reality and use that as a gate to enter non-ordinary reality, to enter a state that's outside the waking state. Yeah, so Wake Back to Bed is paramount. That's why the Zoom dojo is going to be open Monday through Friday. One, because it helps other people, it helps all of you. Two, because it actually forces me to do it. So, because for me, capacity is not the problem. Motivation is. So, yeah, the sensate full, really getting into the senses of the image of the dreamscape will help you enter it. And you want your focus, your level of attention, like how much effort should I be applying, as I'm falling asleep? It has to be balanced. If it's too much effort, you won't be able to fall asleep. If it's not enough effort, then you won't actually be able to hold the mental picture and really begin to feel the senses. I guess effort's not the best term. Intention. There has to be enough intention to actually hold this scene and begin to feel yourself there as you fall asleep. That is the essence. You feel yourself there. That's how you do it. Another technique that works very well, and this is explained in detail in the Wild Way of Lucid Dreaming by Slider. That's the name of the author, Slider. Some of you have probably noticed that as you fall asleep, you get these hyper vivid mental pictures. They're basically like little daydreams or little mini daydreams. So you're falling asleep and then you have like a very fast dream of crashing your car or uh, flying into something and crashing. And then you like jolt. That's a perfect example of um, hypnagogia. It's like you're not fully dreaming yet. In a way, you are. It's like your body's not completely asleep. Um, so any kind of, you know, abrupt thing that happens in the domain of mental pictures will alert you and shock you out of it. But I believe it's still considered the area of hypnagogia. So hypnagogia is when these mental pictures become vivid as you fall asleep. So hypnagogia is a sign of the transition state. If you're getting vivid, very vivid, hyper real mental pictures, you're about to lose consciousness. Yeah, that's what's happening. You're about to fall asleep. So what you do is learn to extend your time in the in-between state. Learn to extend your time in hypnagogia. And the technologies that help with this are the Monroe Focus 10 state, the Focus 10 HemiSync, which actually is free on YouTube, so you could just look that one up. The only thing with Focus 10 as it is on YouTube is that it has the version of it where he wakes you out of it. So it's good to use to like train that state of mind awake, body asleep. That's what Focus 10 is. It's an arbitrary number. Bob Monroe, he had the model that consciousness was the spectrum, and like from 1 all the way to 49, and 10 was the number for, or the point on that spectrum for the mind being awake and aware but the body being sound asleep. and these hemisync frequencies, hemispheric synchronization that occurs through the frequencies he created, it drives the brain into that state or encourages that state, and thereby you actually find yourself aware as your body is asleep. So you want to look for, I'll put all this in the Discord and whatnot. You want to look for either free flow focus 10 or free flow focus 21. 21 is the dreaming out of body area of the spectrum. So it helps you be aware as that is happening. It like supports your brain so that you can be aware as that is happening. So if you want to use 21 as you fall asleep, that's effective, either at the beginning of the night or if you do wake back to bed. Man, there's so many lucid dreaming techniques. I don't even know if we're gonna get to this. Well, I have to read the Bardo part. When hypnagogia is happening, what you want to do is become attentive to one part of the hypnagogic panorama. So I'll describe how this has happened to me. One time I was falling asleep and I was aware as I was falling asleep. This was like 3 a.m. I woke up spontaneously and then just went back to sleep. Or let my body fall back asleep, but I was remaining aware. And the hypnagogia started as just these like shimmering, like stained glass window colors, shimmering. And I stayed with it, just let it unfold. And the colors then became more concrete until it actually appeared as became stained glass window, hyper real, as real as an actual one that I was seeing. And then I just placed my attention on the center of that image, and then bang, I appeared in a lucid dream where I was in a tomb of Catholic saints. So if this was to happen to you, let's say it's a scene of a beach, or it's even some amorphous like geometric shapes and like squiggly lines and stuff, you just have to focus on one of those things, or just like place your attention on one of those things while you continue to fall asleep, let your body fall asleep, and then boom, the dreamscape opens. You may just like literally just phase into the dreamscape, or some strange phenomena may happen where like you spin and then you appear there, or this screen appears and then you follow the screen down to the dreamscape and then you're there. So all this weird stuff can happen in the hypnagogic transition. But that's just part of the territory, so you can expect that. The transitions themselves are actually pretty cool. Yeah. What do you do once you're lucid in the dream? It doesn't matter. Yeah. The fact that that you're now lucid in the dream means you've done it. So what I do is or what I have done is either meditate or transition to an out of body experience. So that means leap from the dream into that level of consciousness that is outside space-time as we experience it here. So that's more esoteric, but that's actually what occurs when it happens in my case. So yeah, so you have the sensate-based inductions, you have the noticing the hypnagogic imagery inductions, and you have wake back to bed, which is crucial. And then You have the is there another one that's really good? Yeah. So this will tie into the actual um teaching here from the Bardo reading. So what helps with lucid dreaming is to do this thing called reality checks. Reality checks are checking reality to see if you're dreaming or not. So the principal method I used for this in the early, I mean like 16 years ago, I read Carlos Castaneda's Teachings of Don Juan, highly recommended, very good. And Don Juan explained a method where you look at your hands, your palms during the day, and you ask yourself, am I dreaming right now? You seriously have to actually ask. Like it's not useful to just do this as like do this without intention, like actually be intentional and really question your reality. Am I dreaming right now? And when you do that, you look at the palms of your hands, and if the lines on your hands start moving, you're in a dream. So the idea is that by in training and doing this often in the waking state, you will by habit do it in the dreamscape. And it works. I mean, it's not as reliable as just having the awareness and the flexibility of consciousness to just enter the dreamscape, but this is a principal method and technique. It's useful because it it orients you towards that reality. It orients you towards the dreaming by asking yourself if you're dreaming and checking your hands. You're like putting a coin in that lucid dream yoga piggy bank every single time. There's other versions of this. So, for example, in dreams, the nature of the dreamscape is not is very malleable. So, like a reality check you could do is to look at a book or some text and ask yourself if you're dreaming. Look away and look back, and if the words change, you're dreaming. If you focus on the words or the letters and they move around, you're dreaming. So to do reality checks during the day, you could look at analog clocks, ask yourself, am I dreaming? And you focus and you see if the words or the numbers change. And in dreams, they always change. Always. I think one time it didn't change for like a couple minutes, and that was kind of trippy, and then it actually changed. So it shifts the letterings, the letters and whatnot shift around. And the final point for lucid dreaming, I know this was a lot, but of course the video will be up so you can revisit it. You have to write down your dreams, because if you're having a lucid dream, you could be having lucid dreams and you could be experiencing samadhi in your sleep. Actually, everyone is, but um, unless that is recalled, it's as if it didn't happen. So the recollection is paramount. How do you develop recall? You write your dreams down, as many of them as you can, and as often as you can. So, and you'll notice that once you begin to write down your dreams like this, inner working opens. Like this part of the Bardo series is unique because now that you begin working with dreams, you're working with the landscape of the peaceful and wrathful deities. You're working with the landscape outside of waking consciousness, where these forces, which are guidance, are very active. They already are in the waking state, but it's not as it's easier to write it off. But in the dreamscape, in dreaming and in out of body states, this stuff is very much prominent. So don't be surprised if this inner inner dialogue and this inner journey starts to open once you begin to pay attention to your dreams, write them down, and once you start doing all of this. Yeah. Okay, so for the reality checks aside, there's a another a method that's related right to this section here on the Bardo of Dreaming, which is, and you can play with this because it's kind of, for a person with not stable psychological disposition, I don't recommend this actually, because it can be intense, which is to see life as a dream. Like to actually get into the real sense of the illusory nature of what is appearing and what is happening. They call this meditation on the illusory form or the pure illusory body. It is the perception and the cognition that what is happening is illusion-like or dream-like. You can take it as far as to have the sense that you actually are dreaming now. So if you could be in the frame of I'm already dreaming, like I'm already in a dream, that will translate to lucid dreaming when you're asleep, and clear light yoga. It's just that for certain psychological temperaments, it's destabilizing to do this. So I have to like caution about it. But it is like if you could do this continuously, be in the sense that you're dreaming, like have the illusory nature of appearances be your meditation object, specifically noticing this quality of illusoriness, transience, which is akin to the dreamscape, having that in the waking state, attending to that very consciously and continuously, you will have success very rapidly in this endeavor, for sure. Stephen LaBerge mentions this method in his one of his first books on lucid dreaming. I think I have it here. Okay, never mind. But he mentions this in his lucid dreaming book as the Tibetan Dream Yoga method, and he caveats it at the end with like, if you're able to actually do this, because it's not. Of course, it requires a refined level of mindfulness to attend to this continuously. You're basically acting like you're in the role in the waking state. You're in the role that you're dreaming. And you're awake as you're in the dreaming of the waking state. So then it's easy to be in the dreaming of the dream state by default as a result of this. This happens naturally in dark retreats. So in dark retreats, one of the things that people describe is they lose the capacity to tell whether they're dreaming or whether they're awake, because now they're awake in both states, or initially they lose the capacity, and that can be quite destabilizing in the dark, but most practitioners work through it. So we'll read this section. It's funny, I started the call like trying to get to this, and it took like 57 minutes to get to it. And then we'll take a break, and we'll do our meditation. So this is chapter 4, the natural liberation of confusion, experiential instructions on the transitional process of dreaming, the Bardo of Dreaming. Okay. These instructions pertain to latent predispositions and lead to transforming the clear light into the path. In this topic, there are 3 parts: daytime instructions on the illusory body and the natural liberation of appearances, nighttime instructions on dreaming and the natural liberation of confusion, and thirdly, concluding instructions on the clear light and the natural liberation of delusion. So this is page, let's see here. Yeah, this is page 141 in Natural Liberation by Padmasambhava. It explains two aspects of the illusory body, the impure and the pure. What I just described about seeing all things as transient and dreamlike, that's considered to be the pure illusory body. The impure illusory body or illusory form is, let's see. Yeah, sorry for the confusion. I'll just read it directly. The impure illusory body. In a solitary place, sit on a comfortable cushion and cultivate the spirit of awakening, bodhicitta, thinking, may all sentient beings throughout space achieve perfect Buddhahood. For that purpose, I shall meditate on the natural liberation of appearances through the instructions on the illusory body. Bless me that I may practice the illusory body. Bless me that I may realize the illusion-like samadhi. It is like this, all phenomena are non-existent, but they appear to exist and are established as various things, like white and red. That which is impermanent is grasped as permanent, and that which is not truly existent is grasped as being truly existent. Although it is said that this cause of the bondage of all beings is like an illusion, due to grasping onto the true existence of deceptive appearances, phenomena now appear as truly existent. These originally arose from insubstantiality. They now appear even though they are non-existent, and in the end they will become nothing. Consider that since these things, which are without permanent stability or immutability, have no inherent nature, they are like illusions. And what comes next is the reason why this is considered the impure contemplation. It's like a mirror gazing practice. This is page 141, it looks like. Yeah. And the idea, you can go and read this. The idea is to overcome overcome praise and blame. So you look in the mirror and like you shout, you just abuse yourself. You verbally and psychologically abuse yourself in the mirror, attempting to be equanimous about reactions, but you really like get into it. You actually like do this, like go to that place of like the negative thoughts that you have or have had, and put yourself there, and do it as a contemplation where you're essentially witnessing it. Do that also with praise. So things that you like to hear other people say about you, if you still have those. And actually seeing the effect of that on your consciousness. Repeating it until there's no effect from either praise or blame. So it's a preliminary exercise, essentially. Yeah. It's not enough to try this out once or twice out of curiosity and then forget about it. For this practice to be effective, we need to meditate for a long time only on the reflected body in the mirror. Utter abuse and point out numerous failings and see if there is displeasure. If so, consider all praise and abuse are like latent predispositions, and since the body has no essence, the attitudes of pleasure and displeasure are confused. Clearly meditate on the mirror reflection as your mental object. Alternate between praise and abuse and equalize them. This is one session. So this is impure illusory body training, okay? And to get the full details on it, just visit the text. Now, this is pure illusory body. What's the point of these various phases of the practice of dream yoga, including the first phase of apprehending the dream, and upon that basis, engaging in the practices of emanation and transformation? So this refers to, he's saying, what's the point of going into a lucid dream, first having a lucid dream, and then secondly, the dream yoga practice of being able to transform your body into a form of a deity, for example. So these are the stages of the dream yoga that I'll explain on Sunday. They're actually illustrated in Andrew Holacek's Holacek or Holacek, I think it's Holacek. His book, it lists these 9 stages of dream yoga. So I'll get into that on Sunday, but that's what it's referring to: emanation and transformation as something that you do in a dream. Is it simply to enable us to fulfill our desires concerning the 8 mundane concerns? The answer is, of course, no. The reason for this training is to know the causes of the perpetuation of our own suffering. So the point of these teachings turn out to be the same as the point of the 4 noble truths and the 4 thoughts that turn the mind. So the 4 thoughts that turn the mind were the initial preliminary contemplations we did at the beginning of the Bardo series. Cultivate the spirit of awakening as you did before, and position your body in the cross-legged posture. The spiritual mentor should sit upon a throne adorned with the garb of Vajrasattva. The students shall hold a crystal up to their eyes and look at the body of Vajrasattva. By so doing, the body of Vajrasattva, composed of the 5 kinds of rainbow lights, will appear in 2, 3, or more places. Meditate on that glorious body which appears but is without an inherent nature as your mental object. This is the 4th session. So this is a visualization practice. By doing this in the waking state, you train the capacity to do it in the dreamscape, and it's just basically a test of your lucidity and your capacity to exercise intentions and then have recall between states. So that means that in the dream, you actually are remembering things from the waking state. So this means that your full awareness and cognizance is more so present in the dream than it would when you first or ordinarily began the capacity to do lucid dreaming. Let that divine body, a body that appears but is without an inherent nature, clearly arise as your mental object. Imagine it dissolving into your own body, and clearly imagine your own body being like that. When you meditate and train yourself in seeing the whole of the animate and inanimate world as being like that, you are adept in the practice of the pure body. During the transitional process, when the peaceful and wrathful bodies appear, you will surely be liberated. Thus, the main part of the practice of the transitional process of living is just this, and the preliminary practice for the transitional process of dreaming and of reality itself depends on this alone. So strive in this most diligently. In addition, the impure illusory body is crucial to the preliminary practice of the transitional process of becoming. So both of these illusory bodies are main practices of the transitional process. This is the natural liberation of appearances through the instructions on the illusory body, samaya. So on Sunday, we will revisit this again and begin these contemplations. Yeah, I'll provide a picture of Vajrasattva and all of that. So I'll screen share it and we can do the visualization. Yeah. Here, Gayatri Rinpoche says, if you gain realization in this practice of the pure body, then during the transitional process following death, it is certain that you will be liberated. It is best if you can be liberated when the peaceful emanations arise. If not, then when the wrathful appearances arise. Either way, if you become adept in this practice, without doubt, you will gain liberation in the transitional process following death. He says here too, this concludes a brief account of the pure illusory body. At this point, if you find that you have not really understood this text and commentary, I suggest that you study other, more elaborate accounts of these topics. So that's what we're going to do on Sunday. We'll go through Andrew Holacek's 9 stages of this, of dream yoga and illusory body. It's basically just an exercising of your the depth of your lucidity. That's really all that it is. By doing these dream yoga practices or this particular progression, you develop very deep lucidity, depth of your lucidity while dreaming. So the the generation of this mental picture and this mental scene of the deity body and then dissolving it into your body and then your body arising as that particular deity form. This is illustrating the dynamic nature of the mind, the capacity of the mind to generate illusions, the capacity of the mind to generate appearances. And by engaging this capacity, this becomes a gate to lucidity in states outside the waking consciousness, and it allows you to gain the capacity for recollection, exercising of intention, and the presence of recognition in the dying process. So that's really its function. It's not like you're visualizing this stuff just to visualize it. It's not just to play with mental images, mental pictures in your head. It's to realize the aspect of our nature that has this capacity to spontaneously generate images and generate realities of thought, realities of fabrication, and you're thus using those illusions to actually awaken within the larger illusion of reality itself. By entering this form and by entering this mental picture of the pure illusory body, you gain that capacity. You gain the capacity to do that while dreaming. If you're able to do it while dreaming, you're able to do it while dying. And if you're able to do it while dying, you're able to get liberated at death and appear in the Sambhogakaya, in the pure lands of the bodhisattvas, and attain omniscience. So that's how that works. Yeah. It seems like a very strange, long, like, where do I even start with this? How, what, this is weird. This is crazy. There's no way I'm going to be able to do any of this. What is he even talking about? All you have to remember was that I had to say the things that I said. I had to put it there in your subconscious. I had to place the seeds. And with your practice and your further learning and diving into the Bardo's teaching, these will come to fruition. So the only thing is to just be in the self-inquiry, look at your mind, like for the next 3-4 days until our Sunday class. Look at awareness itself and start to do reality checks and see if you can join the Wake Back to Bed in the Zoom room at least once or twice before Sunday. So if you're able to keep the inward turn of noticing mind itself, this really helps with continuity of your mindfulness. And if you're able to combine that with feeling that you're walking in a dream or feeling that you're already dreaming, that would be very useful. But you don't have to go there. Let's just keep it basic, which is during the waking state, be present, be aware as much as you can, meditate while you're doing things as much as you can, and just start to saturate your mind with lucid dreaming content. Start to read about lucid dreaming, revisit this class, and there's a playlist called Higher Self Yoga that is like saturated with all of this dreaming energy stuff from 3 years ago. So yeah, yeah. During the waking state, just work on being aware continuously and start to feel like this is a dream if you're able to. And just have this be the preparatory phase where you you start to learn about lucid dreaming and dream yoga. This is really just the opening of the dream yoga aspect of this six Bardo cycle. All right.